Warning. This show features dark subjects which may be triggering to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Chaos Jar. I'm your announcer, the loud and obnoxious one, J Wes Secord. Hey. To my left here is our host and big bag of facts, Bad Ben.
Hey.
And lastly, joining us, as always, is our good friend A.T. Token.
Always lastly.
And he's, like, tinkering. Anyway.
If you guys hear any metal clanking or screws or whatever, he's just trying to get out of the cage.
Yeah, don't mind him. Anywho, as usual, you can, if you want to follow us, you can follow us at Instagram and Twitter at BAChaosJar. You can also follow me on Twitter at I'm Glad You Asked. If you send me random questions, I'll give you random answers.
You forgot the underscore.
Underscore. Fuck. Sorry, I don't have script anymore. I'm off book. I'm scared.
We're living life on the edge.
Yeah. You can also follow us on Facebook at Pandora's Jar Podcast. It's going to be a while before we change that. Sorry, folks. And lastly, if you want to be a patron, you can follow us, you can support us on patreon.com/chaosjar. Also, if you forgot any of that during the show, because, we're entertaining, feel free to look in the show notes. So, Ben, what's going in the jar today?
So, today we're going to talk about the Bonebreaker.
Ooh. Is that a wrestler?
I wish.
Makes me
a great
there
wrestling
must have been a
gimmick.
wrestler named those.
What's the wrestler from Spider-Man?
Oh,
Bonesaw!
there we go. Good old Macho Man.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Ooh. Bonesaw'll take you down in 3 minutes.
Alright, so the Bonebreaker case has actually been done on another podcast that I've mentioned a bunch of times. And I'm not going to mention again because, they don't pay for our advertising. So
Yeah, they don't pay us enough.
So,
Or me, anything.
Yeah, well.
Get back in your cage.
So if J&J want to, pay for advertising, I'm all for it. But I have a few extra facts, so even if you've heard theirs, well, we have a few extra things in here. So, because they did theirs about 3 years ago. So.
Oh, we're that far behind.
Apparently.
We're like the countries that are like still think it's the 80s.
Listen.
The countries. I don't think you really catch up to crime either. This is a Minority Report.
You know what? I'm going to enjoy my RC Cola.
You can still buy that.
Yeah, it's true.
It's fantastic. The Cola's not, but it's fantastic. You can still buy it.
No, RC's shit. But that's beside the point.
Unless RC wants to sponsor us as well. So.
Or Tab. Oh my god, how much I would love
I
some
miss Tab.
What? It still exists.
Does it?
Just not in Canada.
You have to import it.
You mean Canada Town, USA?
Yeah.
They don't
Ours
ship to this state.
They don't. For whatever reason, we've been barred from their company.
We're the Nebraska of states.
And that's considering that includes Nebraska.
It's funny because I used to work for a call center for T-Mobile, and that was actually one of the things that they put in there was that the carrier was pretty well perfect in every state, except there is no towers in Nebraska because, fuck Nebraska.
If you don't believe us, look up the 4G coverage map for the states and look at Nebraska in the middle. It's the only state where it's missing. It's fantastic.
I like the idea that they also have it written down because fuck Nebraska.
It's funny because the chairman and CEO of the company, of T-Mobile, is actually, he does do commercials where he basically is like, fuck AT&T and fuck Sprint and fuck this and fuck that, and he'll go right out and call them on their shit. It's fantastic because he's really hated, but he's also very successful for such a shitty, cell phone company. But
honestly, doesn't that go for anybody who makes money?
This is true.
Like a large portion of money, I should say. Like, I'm sure there are very few people who like Bezos there.
Yeah.
His wife, ex-wife.
No. She doesn't like him.
She likes the money.
She likes the money that he gave her. I'm sure that she hates him now.
Yeah,
I'm sure she never liked him.
Yeah. All those years. Anyways,
he's got his money to console him.
This case is actually very, very brutal. You know, a little trigger warning, even though there is one at the beginning.
We're going to trigger warning you, second trigger warning, which cancels out the 2 trigger warnings, so you might just feel this trigger.
Well, like I was discussing earlier, we've done Donald Gaskins, who did a lot of really random, crazy crimes. You know, Israel Keys, who sewed a dead woman's eyes open as proof of her being alive for a ransom picture. We've done the Wolf family murders, where this guy shot up an entire house or whatever.
Those were very advanced wolves.
Yeah. This one's very brutal. And
they learned from beavers.
Yeah.
Why is it the image of like beavers building their dams and then wolves sitting on the shore taking notes? And then they build themselves a cottage.
Did you watch that? Did you see what he just did?
I don't think my tail can do that. No, but maybe we can fashion tools to do so. And then the wolves evolved.
Yep. And then opposable thumbs. So.
Well, they already had them because they were writing.
Let's talk about where this all takes place. So, this entire thing takes place in Baraboo, Wisconsin, which is the largest city in the county of Sauk, which I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced.
It is
S-A-U-K.
Isn't that the camp?
No.
Why?
Moving on.
So the city lies just on the Baraboo River, so Baraboo, Wisconsin. It is the home to the Circus World Museum, which is the former headquarters and winter home of the Ringling Brothers, and is essentially, and the entire town is all about circuses.
So fuck this town.
Yeah, it like literally they are like, well, they're nicknamed Circus City. Yeah. So. The Al Ringling Theater is an active landmark to this day in the city.
Not to be confused with Circuit City.
Yes.
Which shut down several years ago.
I was going to say, do they even exist?
It's funny because that other podcast made that same joke.
Oh, really? Oh, fuck. I see, I don't even listen to it.
I was trying to stay away from that.
Come on. You know I'm so pun-oriented.
Yeah.
At the very least, I can make the joke that you enter their town and the theme music is.
I also assume there's just clowns. No, I just also assume there's clowns everywhere.
That's.
Well, it's Wisconsin.
Yeah, you're walking around. They got a bit of clowns. All of a sudden, there's Pennywise in the corner and
Laughing Jack.
Yeah. Oh my god.
All right. So from 1884 to 1917, the Ringling Brothers maintained their headquarters here, and John
Stamos
Ringling and John Stamos was born here with his brother.
I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna go John C. Reilly, so he just beat me to it.
Clone high.
Yeah.
But John Ringling is actually from this town, so that's why I guess they built it here. And like I said, the headquarters was here. In 2017, a call came in to the Sauk County Dispatch at 5:05 a.m.
2017?
In 2017.
Well, that wasn't long ago.
No, it was about an elephant wandering around a neighborhood.
Why not?
So,
is this a build-up to a racial joke?
It must be just so common there, too. That's the best part.
Oh, it's going to get even better. Wait till I read the rest of this. So, apparently the elephant's name was Kelly. She was in her mid-40s and weighed about 8,000 pounds.
Dude. Kelly, eh?
Yeah, not Karen. Kelly.
Yeah, you didn't hear about my new partner, did you?
Nope. Sorry, Kel.
I'm sure you don't weigh 8,000 pounds. So the elephant escaped from the circus when one of the other elephants helped her open the enclosure gate.
Like they coordinated.
Yeah, apparently they have footage of this. I couldn't find it anywhere, but my God, does it ever... And Kelly managed to wander around the town for about 40 minutes before the police and trainers were able to apprehend her.
So this is normal.
This happened. Luckily, there are protocols in place in the town for elephants wandering around town, and the police officers use them to get Kelly back safely. To quote the chief Scholf, "You know there's a lot of places where elephants would be on the loose. It's just another day at the circus city for us."
I'm not sure if it's hilarious or not hilarious. That's my girlfriend's name. Like, just every time you started saying Kelly out of context, like, they had procedures to take down elephants, and they were able to use those to take Kelly in with the proper trainers. And, like,
does she like peanuts?
Probably.
So, also in November of 2018, state officials and the superintendent of the school district decided that they were going to look into a picture that featured many of the Baraboo High School students doing the Sig Heil hand motion, and this picture surfaced, and so they're investigating it. Nothing's ever come of this investigation, but it was funny that it just kind of popped out of nowhere in 2018. So in 2017, there was elephants. In 2018, they're Nazis.
But did they find Kyle?
Yes.
Moving on. So, let's talk about Chris Steiner.
Okay.
So,
who is he?
Chris Steiner is a 14-year-old who his parents put him to bed at the end of the night on July 4th, 1994.
How do you know that?
It's in the report. There's reports about these things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was there.
Creepy.
Yeah, I was there. So the next morning, Chris's parents found his bed empty. They called the police, who immediately found signs of an abduction.
Did you see where he went?
Yeah, he went that way.
He went with Kyle.
Yeah. and Kelly was chasing after him.
Slowly.
That's why she had to get out. She needed to help him.
Yeah, she had to help Kyle and Chris.
So, one of the screens had been cut, and muddy footprints were found coming into the room and heading back out through the main door. So somebody cut the screen door to get in, and then came in and took him and left.
Was his bedroom on the ground floor?
I'm not sure. So Chris would be missing for 6 days before his body was found in the Baraboo River, hanging off a tree. Like I said, he was 14. They ruled the death as undetermined. He had clearly drowned, and it was assumed he was killed, but they couldn't find any traumatic injuries or signs of murder. So,
was there at least a guess to what he died from?
They believe he was murdered because he was obviously abducted.
Right.
But he drowned, and they couldn't figure out why he drowned. So, it was a quiet night on July 29th, 1995, so a year later, in Baraboo, Wisconsin. 13-year-old Thaddeus Phillips, who goes by Thad, was sleeping on the couch after he fell asleep watching TV. His family had recently moved into this house and into this city. Thad felt somebody pick him up off the couch, and he assumed it was one of his parents carrying him to bed. So, like, that's a normal thing when you were a kid. You used to fall asleep, and it's the summertime, so they're going to let you stay up watching TV.
Yeah.
It's the middle of the night at this point. However, when Thad woke up, he realized he wasn't being carried by any family member or his parents. He was being carried by an older, friendly boy who let Thad to his feet outside and told him that he was having car trouble and that he was a friend of the family and that his parents had asked this boy to get Thad to help with the car trouble. So the boy convinced Thad, who was still disoriented from this wake up, because middle of the night you wake up and you're being pulled out of the house, to run to his house with him where he lived with his brother. They ran over a mile to get to this house.
Only kids can.
Wow. And yeah, if Thad wasn't awake before, he's not awake
Definitely
now.
Awake now. So, once they got to the house, the boy introduced himself as Joe Clark. And he stated that he was throwing a party with a bunch of Thad's friends that Joe actually named off friends of his. Saying that they would be there soon. In the meantime, Joe asked if Thad wanted to come up to his room and see some cool car models. So Thad agreed. Thad really liked cars, but, well, this is an older boy too. Might be kind of cool to hang out with him. He's going to be at a party. So the boys headed upstairs, but once in the room, Joe shed his friendly demeanor and threw Thad onto a dirty bed, jumped on him, snagged the boy's ankle. He then began to twist the ankle, and Thad felt the pressure being applied, and even despite all the struggle, Joe managed to twist his ankle until the bone just above the ankle snapped and splintered.
Jesus.
Thad managed to break away from Joe after a little more of a struggle, and he made it out of the room, down the stairs, into the living room, and halfway through the kitchen before Joe finally caught up to him. Joe grabbed him, threw him to the ground and then barraged him with a bunch of strikes, so like punches and kicks. Then, once completely grounded, Joe grabbed Thad's other leg and pushed it up past Thad's head until he broke the thigh bone and separated the muscle.
All right.
Yeah. So, with Thad completely incapacitated, he brought him to the couch, and he hung out there watching TV as if they were just friends.
Okay.
In fact, Joe acted completely like they were just friends and was sitting there chatting with him as he dressed the wounds with ace bandages and white socks.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Joe explained that he enjoyed the sound of bones breaking and then enjoyed dressing the wounds just to come back and eventually break the bones again because he felt like they would heal within a couple hours. It's some sort of delusion.
Yeah.
So so this was actually a common occurrence throughout the time that Thad's going to be there. Joe confided in Thad that he had done this to two other boys. One that was not named, but the other one's name was Chris Steiner.
I remember that name.
Yep.
Where do I remember it from?
So,
is anyone going to explain this to me?
Nah.
We'll link it in a minute.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So after a few hours of watching TV and talking to Joe, Joe decided it was time to torture poor Thad again.
Torture.
But he dragged him upstairs and would stomp on his legs, jump on his feet and chest. He would twist Thad's legs just to hear all the snapping. Thad became Joe's punching bag for anything that he needed to blow off steam from. If something didn't go his way, he would just beat the living hell out of him, torture him, twist him, break these bones.
How old is this kid again?
13 years old. And Joe is 17. So at one point, Thad heard the phone ring downstairs. And he made a note that if he could ever get back downstairs to the kitchen, he'd use that phone to call for help. So the first night arrived, and Joe was heading out on a date with his girlfriend. He made sure to torture Thad, stomp on his legs, and even took a running start and drilled his knees into Thad's body.
I'm sorry, I don't know why, but, like, I picture, like, he's going to prom and he is that teenage, like, fancy outfit and everything, and then in his routine...
Just mafia style.
Yeah, and then in his routine, he's just like, alright, time to beat up the kid I kidnapped.
Yeah. So, Thad took this opportunity while Joe was out with his girlfriend to escape the bedroom and drag himself to the stairs. He realized that he couldn't make it down the stairs in his condition, so he did the only thing he could do. He threw himself down the stairs.
Good on this kid.
Once he hit the bottom, he would drag himself slowly to the kitchen in between fits of unconsciousness. So he was in and out of consciousness as he's slowly getting there. 13 years old and he's doing this. He managed to make it into the living room when he heard the front door open. Thad hid behind the couch as Joe and his girlfriend entered the house. The two sat on the couch and continued talking. Thad thought about calling out for help, but decided against it. One, he feared that Joe might torture her as well if she tried to intervene. Or the other option, which is she would be into the torturing as well. Instead, Thad waited in his hiding spot until the inevitable moment when the girlfriend went home and Joe found him. And boy, was Joe ever mad. He beat and twisted Thad so bad that Thad would call out that he heard someone coming just for a break for 10 seconds or something while Joe checked it out. So be like, I hear your girlfriend, or, you know, your brother's coming in, or something like that, just to... This would just make Joe come at him even harder the next time, but he just needed the break. He was,
Am I allowed to make an observation?
You go ahead.
Does that mean he survived?
We're going through the account. I haven't mentioned if anybody survived yet.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where the account comes from.
I've had the killer make the accounts before, though.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. There's some personal stuff in there, though.
Yeah.
Could come from the accountant.
So, Joe would try to suffocate him with pillows and other objects because he didn't like the noises that Thad was making when he was being twisted and broken. And he threatened to break Thad's back and neck if he made any more noises or fought back. So Thad just bit back all his groans and remained complacent in his torture. His ribs were broken, his feet were hanging on by only skin. Not even the muscle, no bone, just the skin. His legs were swollen to the size of basketballs. He was bleeding internally and severely dehydrated and starving, because he'd been here for over a day by this point.
He's not been fed or given any water.
No. And so
Jesus, no wonder he was
the next day followed through and more of the same torture was happening. It literally was like he was coming in every hour and torturing him. At one point, Joe's car wouldn't start, so he came inside and twisted Thad's feet so much that his feet were on backwards and his kneecaps switched behind his legs. Joe would store Thad inside of a closet when he was out of the house in order to keep him from trying to escape. He'd already made 2 escapes, so the first one when he managed to fight free, and then the second one when he threw himself down the stairs. So, in Joe's mind, while he was out, and he's in the closet, then he can't get out because he's so weak, right?
Unrestrained, otherwise.
Yeah. Okay. Even with all the physical torture, he was also psychologically torturing Thad. At one point, Thad asked if he could call his parents to let them know he was alive. Joe agreed and gave him a phone. Just to enjoy the look on the face when Thad realized that the phone was not connected.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we were expecting anything good out of this.
So, Joe had to leave the one night, and he was heading out with his girlfriend. So he threw Thad in the closet. Thad, trapped in this closet in the middle of, again, this is in the end of July, middle of summer, began searching for anything to break down the closet door, and he found an electric guitar. He used that to break the door apart, and once free, he made the same trek to the stairs while being in and out of consciousness, then threw himself down the stairs again, and between fainting spells made it to the kitchen. He then managed to make it to the phone, and the phone had a very long cord. So like one of those cords that you could walk around the house with.
Yeah.
He managed to get the phone down using this long cord. And luckily for Thad, the number keys were on the receiver. So
he didn't have to run up to it.
Thad called 911 and reported the entire thing, even giving them Joe's name. And the police thought it was a crank call. But they did go to check it out because they didn't know who Joe Clark was. They had had some brushes with him, and they weren't treating it in a serious manner. Not until they arrived and discovered poor broken Thad laying in the kitchen. I just want to say, who thinks that would make this whole thing up just to
Munchausen's?
Yeah, I guess. So Thad was unbelievably close to death. The doctor said that if he had been there for a few more hours, he would have succumbed to his wounds. And the doctors didn't have high hopes of him pulling through anyways, but he did. Thad eventually revealed that Joe had taken responsibility for the death of Chris Steiner, who was the original boy who got killed.
First one we talked about.
And another boy who Thad could not remember the name of and was never found. Chris's mother actually had believed that Joe had something to do with her son's death, but nothing ever linked Joe to the crime, so they couldn't go after him.
For that.
Yeah. So police arrested Joe and searched his house, and they came across a really interesting piece of evidence. They found a notebook, and in the notebook there was 3 columns that were titled "Can Wait," "Get To Now," and "Leg Stuff." And under each one of those columns was the name of local boys. So these weren't random victims.
This is plotted.
He's been stalking these people.
Documented. This is precise.
So
this is fucking grim. That's the word you should have opened with.
Yeah.
I specifically like the word leg stuff.
Yeah. I just love the leg stuff.
Kind of like butt stuff.
I was gonna say, is it a little bit cannibal or?
So Joe was convicted of the attempted murder, causing mayhem, numerous assault charges, and kidnapping charges. So he was convicted on all of this. He received 100 years just for the crimes against that. He also received. So with this, he would not be eligible for parole for 95 years. However, in an even more unbelievable statement to Thad's ability to overcome injuries, a few days before Thad was going to testify against Joe, 15-year-old Michael Hopsketch shot Thad in the back.
The fuck?
What?
Nobody knows why. There are speculations on Reddit and stuff like that Thad was a bit of a bully to kids, but he's also 13 years old, and I don't want to throw that right out there in the world, really, and say, he absolutely was, because we don't know, and it doesn't really matter. He didn't deserve to be fucking tortured. So Thad managed to recover and did testify.
This guy's made as fucking iron.
I guess so. So then this leads to Chris Steiner. Joe maintained that he was completely innocent of the death, even to this day. However, when the initial autopsy was done, there were no long bone x-rays done on Chris Steiner's body. The only x-rays that were done were on the head and chest to see if there was a brain injury or something like that.
Yeah.
So they had to exhume the body. When they x-rayed the lower extremities, the injuries were nearly identical to Thad Phillips. So he did exactly this and then just threw him in a river and let him drown.
Jesus.
So Joe was convicted of the murder of Steiner and sentenced to life in prison, which was kind of added on to 50 years, so essentially serving 150 years in prison.
It's procedural at this point.
Yeah. Joe's parents dispute this, claiming that the night of July 4th, 1994, Joe was asleep in his bed.
Yeah.
But Joe was also known to sneak out of the house and was very quick and able to get through this because apparently his parents are heavy sleepers and heavy drinkers.
Yeah.
Well, that behavior doesn't come from nowhere.
Yeah.
Typically.
I was
there are a few exceptions.
I was going to bring that up. This isn't a fetish that just pops up.
Was it sexualized?
He said that it was kind of like a fetish for him. That he really enjoyed the sound. In fact, when Thad was talking to him, he asked, why don't you just do this to yourself? And he said that he tried, but he just couldn't get the right angles.
Wow.
So, my whole thing with this has to have come from somewhere. Like, did he watch somebody else get tortured like this or something? Like,
my theory would be that he heard the popping noise from the bones, and then the noise was really intriguing, so he probably just started by cracking his knuckles, and then
he also really enjoyed. He says that he really in it. How Thad described it was that he even described how he loves the feel of the pop.
Yeah, which makes sense because you ever crack your knuckles and it goes you feel that pop through, and he probably got obsessed with that feeling and then just experimented more and more, and with neglectful parents they didn't notice it.
There's not a lot of information about Joe at all, really. It's kind of weird. Throughout the whole thing,
technically a minor,
there's this thing. Well, that's just it. And there's this whole thing that they claim that he lived with his brother in this house, but where was his brother throughout this whole thing? Because in total, Joe had Thad for 43 hours. So, was his brother out of town? Were his parents out of town? Did he even live with his brother? This was obviously his house because the phone rang downstairs, and when the phone rang downstairs, it was Joe's girlfriend. So she knew this number would be able to reach him.
Do we even know if his brother...
They don't mention his brother ever again. Just that he lived with his brother, apparently.
I wonder if he also did the same thing to his brother.
That could be the other boy.
Which is where he experimented and how he was able to figure it out for a bit.
Yeah. So, Joe tried to appeal the Chris Steiner case, obviously saying he didn't have anything to do with it. There's no evidence, so on. He also tried to appeal his convictions with Phillips, but they have a fucking notebook of yours with names written in it, and there's specifically leg stuff, and you have snapped the shit out of this kid's legs. They even talk about how he had broken ribs, and one report mentioned there was a broken arm. So and they even, when they're describing these wounds, the kid's skin was just twisted.
Oh.
He's really lucky it held together, otherwise he would have bled out.
Yeah.
It's horrific, but... and the upside, if nothing else.
Yeah, and even the fact that he managed to, put that much into being able to escape kind of thing, right?
Also, yeah, Thad fucking...
Will of Iron, man.
Yeah, that kid took a lot and then got shot.
So
that still confuses me.
So anyways, he tried appealing that, saying that... Because one of the convictions he has is causing mayhem. And he tried to appeal the causing mayhem, saying that it's not part of mayhem, but...
What does mayhem specifically mean?
It means... So there's part of the definition is basically causing bodily harm by cutting eyes, nose, extremities, faces, limbs, and it's cutting or disabling.
For no purpose.
Just cutting or disabling. Even if it has a purpose or whatever... That's part of mayhem. So it's right in the definition. You fucking disabled this poor kid.
I feel like the word mayhem has a better description than that.
Yeah. We could have called this mayhem jar.
Mayhem jar.
But yeah, so... Anyways,
welcome to Mayhem Jar.
The other thing was that he said that he never attempted to murder... poor Thad, but then the whole suffocating,
fucking semantics,
saying that if you try to escape, I'll break your neck and back.
Also, deliberately keeping him alive to torture him, I would argue, is it worse than murder?
Yeah. So, those were obviously rejected, and he's still in prison. Joe was also taken to civil court by Thad for his injuries, and Thad testified against him about the love of the torture and the terrible injuries that was shown explicitly on Joe's face as he did these things. And in the end, Thad was awarded to be paid $21 million. But
by whom?
Yeah, Joe's in jail, so you only make 1 cent an hour.
Is that true?
Yes, when you're in jail, you get paid a certain amount.
I see.
And you only make a certain amount per hour, and
I'm just surprised you get paid at all, to be honest.
yeah. So Thad,
well, it's for commissary and stuff
so
like that.
it took a great deal of surgeries.
No.
What?
He feels that they should just be locked up and you don't give them anything.
Oh, okay.
So it took a lot of surgeries just to treat the injuries that Thad sustained in the 43 hours of torture. Thad did manage to regain use of his legs, but he does walk with a permanent limp to this day.
I mean, the fact that he can walk.
Yeah.
I was literally going to say the same thing. Jesus.
He's made appearances on shows like Survivor and How I Escaped and so on like that. And he's talked about it, but he doesn't flash it out there. In fact, this case is really hard to find a lot of facts on.
I'm surprised he talks about it at all. Fuck.
But yeah, so that's the
hid forever.
Maybe like he needed the money or something.
So, well, the thing is that Joe could make money off these things because they could try to make stories about his life and so on like that. And so what I think would happen with that $21 million is that they would be able to scoop up all those funds. And if you continue to talk about it, then people will reach out to Joe for certain things and have to purchase these things. And it works in Thad's benefit as well to kind of get it out there that you can survive these situations, I guess.
It'd be a hell of a motivational speaker, although
I
don't really know if I'd want to hear it, to be honest.
But yeah, so that's the Bonebreaker case. Poor Chris Steiner and poor Thad.
Fucking A on Thad for making it, though.
Yeah.
That is one wrestling match I would not want to be a part of.
I wouldn't want to see it.
And you know,
I'm glad that was short.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I tried my best, but I was a little too stunned to make comedy.
Yeah.
Well, there's not a lot of comedy. It's just 2 days of fucking horror and thankfully a quick wrap up.
Well, there's never really comedy in these things. We do that ourselves. But I have been sitting here squishing a foam donut this entire time because I literally have nothing better to do with my job right now.
Technically better than what I was doing. Talk about that after the show, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Trying to escape your cage is not bad.
Building
it worked for Thad.
Yeah. Took an electric guitar, but he did it.
Honestly, when I heard the electric guitar line,
he found an electric guitar and he played the blues.
Well, no, I was actually expecting the closet doors exploded in smoke and fire as he's doing a power ballad.
If only it was the 80s.
Could you imagine?
What year was that again?
In 1995.
95? Oh, okay. So it was just past the 80s, yeah. But if it were the 80s, that's how he could escape.
Only there were lines of coke.
You want to do a line?
Want to do a line?
We'll explain that one after, too, I guess.
Yeah.
How long was this?
About 40 minutes.
It was pretty short.
Yeah. Woo! Well...
I kind of breezed through the details because there wasn't a lot of interruption for jokes or anything like that.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's not that. There was no way to make jokes about this because...
Well, the intensity in the moment is kind of what sort of cut everything down, where, obviously the electric guitar bit I could have done midway, but, it was just... I couldn't. It was just, oh my god, I need to know where is this going type of thing. But, afterwards, the... out of the closet door.
But just think about it
Plus
too.
His power slide would have been amazing.
But just think about it too. Even when we talked about Israel Keys, or when we talked about Gaskin, or we talked about the Wolf family murders, or we talked about Laughing Jack, there was a lot to joke about because there was a lot of non-intensity moments where
there's gaps where
he does. They said something terrible, and then
well, Laughing Jack, it was really easy because he doesn't exist.
Yes. As far as we know.
Yeah, like the... What? Okay, anyway. But yeah, the that makes so much more sense, right? Like, when it's real people, you also have to be kind of careful what you say.
Especially, yeah, you don't want to laugh at the victim too much, but you also... I don't care too much about making fun of Joe, like, fuck him, but fuck, like... Yeah,
what kind of a name is Joe?
Yeah.
The other thing is, there's not a lot of jokes to be made because Thad made all the right moves.
Yeah.
Every fucking step of the way.
And he fucking, you gotta speak to, like, even if the Reddit reports are true that he was a bully for that, I'm sure he's not a bully anymore, and I'm sure that
kind of doubt it.
Yeah.
Because he expressed a sympathy for the girlfriend.
Yeah.
Of his abuser. Which speaks volumes to this guy.
I feel like that kid who shot him, like, I think just timing wise, there's something more there.
Like maybe they were a friend of Joe's or something like that.
Or maybe that was Joe's brother.
No, because he lived with his older brother. That's what he kept saying. And this kid was 15.
Oh, okay.
Could just be another attention-seeking thing, though.
Yeah,
this kid's in the headlines.
Yeah,
that's true.
Who knows?
God, I remember an SNL sketch where some murder. It was way back in the Eddie Murphy days, and he played
the coke years.
He played a murderer
before or after the prostitute.
Yes. It was that year when Eddie Murphy single-handedly saved SNL. I think it was their 5th season because Lorne Michaels left the show, and it was just terrible writing.
Before or after the prostitute.
Yes. Anyway, but one of the funny parts is they had a whole sketch dedicated to Eddie Murphy playing this guy who killed one of Eddie Murphy's other characters, which was an adult version of Buckwheat from The Little Rascals.
Nice.
So this guy kills Buckwheat, and then and then all of a sudden there's all these news reports, and like people are saying, you know, they put these serial killers in the news and it gives them this media attention, blah blah blah. That's enough for that. There's more information on the trial. And like it kind of makes me think of that when you talk about,
in all honesty too, though, one of the things that I find really trippy about this is he only has one confirmed victim, right?
Yeah.
So,
but keep in mind, this is the police disposition didn't necessarily think this was real to begin with.
Yeah, but he only had one confirmed victim of not Thad, because he killed Chris Steiner. There's no doubt about it. He fucking killed Chris Steiner. If the fucking injuries are the exact same, unless his older brother did it, and then that's how he got this.
To be legally clear, there was not a reasonable doubt.
Yeah. So
it's so fucking likely, yes.
Yeah, so that's just it, is he obviously did this. So he has one murder victim, and then he claims to have a second one. One of the things that cemented the fact that he killed Chris Steiner as well was that one of the people that he was jailed with talked about how Joe openly stated that he killed the boy after mangling him and threw him in a river, and he got caught up in a tree. And the police didn't release that detail to the public. So only the police and one other person's going to know that.
I don't think anyone's really thinking he did.
Yeah. But
you know what kind of scares me is
everything about this?
Well, yeah. The cruelty almost seems weirdly worse because there's an odd sense of like adolescent innocence behind it too.
Yeah.
It's
like,
just unfortunately targeting.
No, I mean like the perpetrator in this case, he was a teenager, so his curiosity and his feeling of invulnerability and whatnot, like added to the way he does it. Like we look at the other serial killers where we were talking about.
They're grown adults.
Yeah, they're grown adults. They're aware of what they're doing is wrong, but they don't care, type of thing. Where this kid, it feels like
he probably never learned to care.
Yeah, exactly. He probably looked at it like, this is a toy. I'm playing with the toy's broken, I throw it away. And
yeah, but I didn't learn empathy until my 20s. But I didn't do fucking that shit.
And honestly, too,
that's why it's scary. Is what I'm trying to get at.
I guess
I have to side with you on that one because, like, when I first heard this case and I heard that he got 100 years for what he did to Thad, I was kind of like, well, that's good. And then I was also like, but he was fucking 17. Like, there's obviously a deeper issue here.
Yeah, but you're not gonna process that in a lifetime.
Maybe not.
At least not a lifetime in prison.
True.
If we had a service where we could rehabilitate youth, yeah, we could. But we've never made that investment as a people.
That's true. There's actually another case that I'm going to cover at some point, from Michigan, where the guy had a brain tumor and it was removed, and then he did some terrible crimes, and they pulled the doctor aside to ask about this brain tumor, if it could possibly have caused this whole thing, and he said no.
That's horseshit.
But if that doctor goes up and goes, well, no, I could have, like...
He's liable.
Yeah, he'd be liable for a lawsuit, so of course he's going to say no, but they tried to use that, and they used something he said 20 years before he met his victim against him, because it was odd how it lined up, but it didn't specifically line up. It's a weird case.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Definitely the tumor could affect that. Like I've actually read up about how certain lobes in the brain, once you take them out, even if it was by accident, can lead to lack of like self-shame and stuff like that, so it just doesn't bother you.
Yeah, you take shit out, you're gonna lose shit.
Exactly.
It's really not a complicated procedure, or an idea, rather. But
in all honesty, I think maybe that's part of what we should talk about in the overflow is that case, because I don't really want to go too specifically into it on the actual show. But it'd be nice to have a little bit of that on the overflow. So we'll wrap it up here.
Well, that sums up everything here. Remember to like and subscribe, rate and review. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter at BA Chaos Jar. You can get me, myself, and I, J Wes Secord, at I'm Glad You Asked _ And if you want to be a patron, come and support us at patreon.com/chaosjar and follow us on Facebook at Pandora Jar Podcast. And it's all in the show notes, as we said in the beginning. So you guys have a good night.